This program is dedicated to those that paid for their lives at the hands of the state. Hello, and welcome to another edition of Silent Voices. Let's take it straight away to our good friends at Legally Kidnap for this update.
My name is Maria Melinn, and I am from Grand Rapids, Michigan. I live currently in Allegan County, Michigan. I am disabled due to domestic violence. I was, in 1998, I was assaulted by my ex-husband, which resulted in me having various problems, spinal problems, throughout the years since then. I really trusted the system, and we were going through the court system, and I thought that, I could trust him, that a man who does so much damage to his wife would not ever have custody of children. Well, I found out fairly quickly that that's really not the way it goes. I am completely disabled by this fit of rage in 1998, and I have been fighting ever since then to try to right some wrongs that have been done in Allegan County Courthouse. I have 4 children, and just a little background. Some of you may heard some of my story, some of you may not have. I not only was disabled, but I've also been jailed for not being able to pay my ex. At one point in time, $1,300 in child support is what they had me paying when my disability was only $700 and something that I got monthly. So every month that I was, before the month even started, I was behind, and there was no way to get ahead. I was granted disability, and I have been having issues with a particular judge that has been in the past. He's went on weblogs that were about my case. I was jailed 21 days for smoking a cigarette. The judge told me that I should have sold the cigarette, which violates ATF laws, and sent the money in for child support. So he put me in jail for 21 days, thinking that that was okay. First of all, I do not, no matter what way, shape, or form it is, I am not one that likes to violate the law. So that was really unsettling for me. The same judge has went on weblogs that were about this incident in which I was jailed for 21 days and made comments on it, which is not only extremely unprofessional, but it's unethical, and I believe it's illegal as well. It was an active case. It still is an active case, and he was online writing on weblogs about it. Now, in 2011, my son got beat with a compound bow, and it was worded by Cronin that he was beat with the arrow. There was a lot of misleading done in the courtroom with this man, and Child Protective Services, due to the fact that my ex-husband admitted to striking the minor child and leaving bruises, CPS asked my ex-husband to remove the children for the duration of the investigation. He placed the children at his mother and stepfather's home. And a little bit more background, my eldest son had access to alcohol, drugs, and also 7 guns, including 2 Glocks and a semi-automatic, and he committed suicide in the care of these grandparents, which is why I was very uneasy with, my younger children being there. He successfully committed suicide in 2010. After this time, I told CPS what my concerns were, that there had been, abuse there that pushed my eldest son to suicide, and they had told me to keep my son for his safety. They even went so far as to tell me that if I sent my son back, I could be charged with failure to protect by Child Protective Services. After being jailed by Kevin Cronin for smoking a cigarette, I knew that I didn't have a very easy choice to make. I was either going to be in trouble with CPS or I was going to be in trouble with the judge. I chose to follow what CPS told me to, and I kept my son because of the simple fact that I have seen CPS step in and take all visitation away between mother and children, father and children, in a situation like that. So I chose to violate the court order, knowing that I would get in trouble for it. I had my son for one extra day before my ex-husband filed an ex parte order, which an ex parte order, if you're not aware, is supposed to be used only if the child is in grave danger. He was not in danger in my care. There's never been any abuse, no neglect. As a matter of fact, at this point in time, my ex and his family had not even accused me of abuse or neglect. This had not even been an issue. So I kept Isaiah. Ex parte order was signed, placing Isaiah, which went over top of CPS's head. The judge stopped the investigation and put the children back in the home with the father who admitted to abusing my youngest child. For about a 3-year duration, this same judge has also kept me away from 2 of my children with no allegations of abuse or neglect. My ex-husband came into the courtroom and said, my children don't like her, they don't want to see her. The judge said, okay, which violates Michigan law as well as friend of the court, their procedures and how they do things. That's a violation. It has to be through DHS or some other reason where there's been abuse or neglect found to take children, to take privileges away from a parent. Now I still have joint legal custody of these children. I am just unable to see them, so I only see my youngest son, who is the one who was abused. I filed a wrongful death lawsuit against my ex-husband. It had been heard by a court watch person who has been helping in my case that my ex-husband's attorney had told my ex-husband to step up the stalking and harassment online, and had told my son, who has now aged out of the system, he's 19 now, at this time he was 18 years old, had told him to do a better job of coaching my youngest son about speaking out against me, which has never happened. My youngest son has, in fact, made his own films, asking someone to help him get out of the abuse, be removed from the abuse, and has asked to be able to come and live with his mom. He spoke of drinking in the home. He spoke of abuse in the home. And as a matter of fact, in the videotaping that he made, I learned things that I had no idea had taken place. So it really opened my eyes to things that were going on that I really didn't know about as well. So he was 8 years old, very brave, and I'm really proud of him. Since then, I have asked him not to speak out against the abuse because he has received 2 black eyes, 2 teeth knocked out, stitches in his lip, and he has received really bad bruises on his back, and there's been a few more instances. The compound bow bruising. It's not safe for him to speak out because this judge deliberately is keeping him in the home with a man that he states is abusing him. CPS told me that they believed that my son was being abused. They also told me that because the judge placed the children back in the home, they cannot do anything about it. The words they used was that the judge trumped them. And as a matter of fact, it's in the CPS reports that the judge did indeed call Child Protective Services, spoke to the supervisor, and stated that it was a case in his court and shut down the investigation. My son was with me for 1 day before the ex parte order went in effect. And we thought that we were really going to get help, that CPS was finally stepping in and going to do what they needed to do to protect my son and his health. My biggest fear is him getting an injury such as mine that lasts a lifetime. So far it's been teeth knocked out, black eyes. It's not been anything permanent. I don't want to see it be anything permanent. And that's one of my biggest fears that I have with my son. Because of the 1-day period that I kept my son prior to the ex parte being enforced, in which another thing about this too is that the judge deliberately allowed my ex-husband to know where I live through this ex parte order, had the police bring him to right directly to my home, knowing that my address was confidential due to previous domestic violence. We had had issues that I was disabled for life. And because of that, everything, my address and any information is to be confidential. As far as my ex-husband, his attorneys can have it, but he is unable to know where I'm living. And that was violated by Kevin Cronin also during that time. He then found out where I live. Shortly after this, there was a threat put online on my ex-husband's page against me, now knowing where I live. It was a pretty scary threat. After what he had done to me the first time, I really don't want to find out what else he can do with his rage. It's something that I take very seriously based on what I've lived through and the problems I've had to deal with since then. So I did successfully get a PPO against my ex-husband due to this threat, but also, you know, at the same time, for violating the court order and keeping my son and following CPS orders, I was sentenced by Kevin Cronin through contempt of court, civil contempt of court. I was sentenced to 60 days in jail, which I have been serving 3 days at a time every other week. Due to my spinal issues, and I also have cardiac issues. A day after burying my eldest son, I had a massive heart attack and died. It was due to stress, and it was also due to the jail keeping my medically prescribed aspirin from me for the duration of my 21 days in jail. During one of these, or a couple of these times that I've been in jail for the 60 days, my home has been broken into twice that I know of. And this just happened to be after my ex-husband had a felony fugitive, wanted absconder living in his home for 3 days. And I knew this because my son told me. He has still to this day not been caught by the police, but he is known as being a cat burglar. That's what he does. He brought, if I'm not mistaken, if my memory is right, he brought the police around to like 300 different places that he had broken into that they were not aware that he broke into. This was part of the reason he was sent to prison in the first place. After being put in jail, or knowing that I was going to be put in jail, I went to my doctor's office. I got information on all of my diagnoses. I got information on all the medication that I was on so that I would not be denied my heart medication again. And I brought that in with me so that we didn't have an issue as we did the first time that I was jailed. Initially, I had problems with the jail, and I was not given some of my medication. So they were denying me that once again, which had contributed to my heart attack the first time. Also, I have since walked in the courtroom when I was waiting for transcripts just to observe. I didn't have court that day, and found that the sheriff and Kevin Cronin in open court were talking about my case without any attorneys present. Some of the documents that were stolen out of my home were also found online, were placed online by a third party that has since befriended my ex-husband to help stalk me. And these were protected documents. They were sealed, as a matter of fact, because my son at the time was a juvenile. I just really want to share with you a little bit about what's going on in our family court system, and I really want you to remember, when you go out there and vote, you need to get the history on who you're voting for, and we need to get some people in the family court system that are really going to look out for what's best for children and that are not willing to violate the law. So far, my story is not unique. There's thousands out there like them. But I thank you for taking the time to listen to me, and I pray for all of you that are going through this. It's not fun, and we just need to stick together. Thank you very much.
Away from home, my dear sweet child. They ripped you away from my loving arms for the love of dirty money and pride. Broken hearts after they torn them in two, but they can't keep our spirits down long, 'cause the Lord will see us through. You are not alone. You will be back home. Soon in my loving arms once again. We all need to stand together and bring justice back to this world of shame. Don't give up. God will heal our nation if we only call out to Him. If we only call out to Him. You are not alone. Home soon in my loving arms my child, do not give up. There are many fighting to bring you home. Many who have given up their lives for you. You are not alone. You will soon be back home. Be home soon in my loving arms once again. How you have grown. We missed so many years together, but it won't be long now. It won't be long now. Evil never wins in the end. God will see us through if we only ask Him to. You are not alone. You will soon be home. Back home soon in my loving arms once again. See you home soon, my sweet child. See you home soon. See you home soon. Home soon.
And I want to thank you for watching today's program of Silent Voices No More. If you'd like to contact us, be a guest on our program, you can contact us at miparentalrights@gmail.com. That's miparentalrights@gmail.com. We also have a social network I'd like you to join, and that's at miparentalrights.ning.com. That's miparentalrights.ning.com. Until next week, my friends, remember, your voice can make the difference.